In a glass-walled meeting room, Eric Yuan stares at a giant screen. The graphs are going wild. 300 million daily users, a market capitalization nearing $160 billion. His engineers cheer. Journalists already call it the apple of remote work. Zoom is now a verb, a reflex, a symbol. Right now, anything seems possible. Jump ahead to winter 2024. Same room, same founder, but on the screen, the numbers have changed color. Subscriptions are stagnating. The stock market has fallen over 75%, causing yesterday's euphoric investors to flee today. In the room, silence is thick. Eric Yuan muses, "We conquered the world in a year, but are losing it just as fast." A question now haunts Silicon Valley. How could the app, the star of the lockdown, adored as a savior, collapse in the blink of an eye? Hi, entrepreneur mindset. I hope you're doing well. Today, I'm taking you on a fascinating and brutal story, that of the startup that rode the wave of the biggest health crisis of the century, before facing an even crueler challenge, surviving success. In this investigation, we'll see how Zoom went from being the hero of remote work to the symbol of a boom that was impossible to sustain. Strategic mistakes turned a global opportunity into a trap for the startup. And as usual, the business lessons that every entrepreneur should remember to never make the same mistakes again. Let's go. A Chinese engineer walks alone outdoors. Eric Yuan abruptly left Cisco, the tech giant, officially stepping down from a prestigious role. In reality, he's escaping frustration. 10 years spent tinkering with WebEx, the official video conferencing tool for large companies. The software was designed in the 2000s for engineering meetings that started slowly, had confusing menus, and crashed with any connection change. For Eric, it was like trying to fly a plane with a lawnmower engine. In his notebook, he writes a sentence that he repeats like a mantra. Video must be as simple as a phone call. His bet is crazy. Start from scratch, take on Microsoft and Cisco, and invent a tool that makes meetings as smooth as a phone call. At the time, video conferencing was a technical nightmare. Heavy software, frozen images, crackling sounds. For investors, the market is saturated. No one thinks an unknown person from China could surpass these giants. Yuan begins with a small team. Some use computers, no fancy office, just a windowless room, extension cords, and late nights. Hey, that reminds me of the early days of TikTok, which I mentioned in a recent video. Every line of code is obsessively tested. Instant startup, smooth videos, and no downloads. The motto, zero friction, zero excuses. Zoom was created and operated in the shadows for years. Big companies hesitate to use them, but a tribe of users forms, startups, yoga teachers, and small businesses. They love that it just works. No bugs, no constant updates. One click starts the meeting. Zoom goes public, and analysts are unimpressed. A video conferencing app? But Yuan has already won the first round. He made a product people love and recommend on their own. The famous word of mouth that even Microsoft's billions can't buy. No one knows it yet, but this little software, built in a windowless room, is about to become the backbone of a world that will soon barricade itself at home. Borders are closing and offices are empty. It's incredible. Overnight, the whole world is looking for a way to see each other without touching. As people rush to join video conferences, Zoom stands out among the apps. The numbers are surreal. In just a few weeks, daily users go from 10 million to over 300 million. The stock price skyrockets. The share goes from $36 to over $550 in just a few months. In October 2020, market capitalization topped $160 billion. To give you an idea, at the time, Uber was around $90 billion, Airbnb $75 billion, Spotify barely $50 billion, and Twitter less than $40 billion. Even ExxonMobil, the century-old oil giant, was worth about $140 billion then. Eric Yuan wakes up a richer billionaire every morning as the media call his company the apple of remote work. Schools, courts, even weddings switch to Zoom. On Zoom with colleagues, his grandson, piano teacher. I got a subscription mainly to talk to my family and have Zoom happy hours with friends. Yeah, I know. For those who didn't experience it, it's cringe. But that's what we had to do to see familiar faces. Let me know if that happened to you too. Anyway, the name becomes a verb, which is reserved for the biggest brands, like Kleenex for tissues, Frigidaire for refrigerator, Google for searching the web. Now we don't say have a video conference anymore. We just say to Zoom or have a Zoom. On Wall Street, it's whispered that Zoom could dethrone both Cisco and Slack combined. But behind the euphoria, cracks are already starting to show. The first problem is Zoom fatigue. After months of mosaic-style meetings, science calls this discomfort, cognitive exhaustion from screens. With cameras on, our brains are on high alert, and micro-silences are interpreted as tension. Even our self-image takes a hit. Constantly seeing themselves, some people find each call more exhausting than meeting in person. The second problem is that the competition is waking up. Microsoft Teams, Google Meet, WebEx, they don't need to win over companies one by one. Video conferencing is built into their Office suite, already in every department. Meetings start with one click in Outlook or Gmail, no extra subscription needed. But the biggest problem is that security falters. As the user base explodes, vulnerabilities multiply. Zoom bombing, unexpected strangers in online classes, encryption promises that fall short, and personal information being hacked and spread everywhere. Regulators investigate and companies hesitate. But with the world in lockdown, warnings go unheard. The product is too convenient, too essential. Zoom keeps climbing, and climbing. An empire built on an emergency relies entirely on the emergency persisting. The problem, or rather the good news, is that the world was about to reopen. Masks are off, flights have resumed, and companies are gradually bringing employees back to the office. With each plane ticket booked, reality sets in. We no longer need daily Zoom calls. The numbers already show a sharp slowdown in subscription growth, even before media coverage. Revenue, which was growing by more than 300% per year in 2020, is now only increasing by a few percent quarter after quarter. Wall Street panics as the stock, once over $550, plunges below $100 in under a year. Over $100 billion in market value vanished, causing intense shock internally. Yuan announces a 15% staff cut to restore stability. Employees hired at high salaries during the frenzy get a brief email. Thank you for your contribution. We have to adapt. Meanwhile, the competition is going on the offensive. Microsoft Teams comes with Office 365, while Google Meet is free in Gmail, making the choice clear for companies. Why pay for Zoom when video conferencing is already built into your suite? Zoom is trying the pivot. New promise, an all-in-one collaboration platform with messaging, whiteboard, telephony, and Zoom IQ, an artificial intelligence assistant for automatic meeting summaries. The timing is tough. Customers, tired of switching apps, remain wary of a tool they still view as only meeting software. And artificial intelligence isn't enough to recreate the excitement of the lockdown. In 2024, the results are still disappointing. Investors are demanding a return to profitability. Analysts are calling them overvalued niche companies. Zoom is now just one of many convenient services, no longer a standout hero. The lockdown star then learns business's toughest rule. The context that lifts you up can, with one change, become what brings you back down. Yuan can't wait any longer. He must show Zoom as more than just a lockdown app. The first response is to expand the playing field. Zoom no longer wants to be just a meeting room, but a complete collaboration platform. Zoom Phone, a cloud telephony solution, replaces corporate switchboards on the menu. Zoom Team Chat is a messaging service built to rival Slack and Teams. Zoom Event offers interactive webinars for thousands. The second tool is artificial intelligence. As I said, in 2023, Zoom launches the Zoom Artificial Intelligence Companion, an assistant that summarizes meetings, writes reports, and suggests questions to ask. The promise is to save hours of productivity every week. The third move is strategic alliances, partnering with Salesforce and integrating with Notion, Miro, and Calendly. Efforts are underway to make people forget Zoom was once just a simple meeting button, but it feels like a race against time. Companies have already invested in the ecosystem, and Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace teams come with current subscriptions. Why pay for an upgraded feature when video conferencing is already free in your Office suite? Analysts say the issue isn't product quality, but context. Zoom is trying to compete with giants that have distribution, annual contracts, and millions of captive users. Every new feature is welcomed, then swallowed up by the market's indifference. As Zoom looks for a new identity, its stock continues to fall. A symbol of an empire struggling to stay relevant in a world it once helped reshape. As promised, here are the two key lessons from this story. First, context isn't a strategy. Your growth can be spectacular if the whole world is locked inside their homes. But when normality returns, the euphoria disappears. Building on a crisis is like building on sand. And precisely the second lesson is to diversify before you're forced to. Zoom waited for demand to drop before expanding its offerings, and Google had already locked in the businesses. The right time to pivot is before the curve turns. But then, do you think Zoom will be able to bounce back, or is the company going to disappear? Like Microsoft Network Messenger, one of the first tools that connected us to millions of people around the world, before Microsoft hastened its downfall. For rather strange reasons, as you can see in the video that's showing.